by the roadsides, telling traditional folklores, but we don't have it now.
Yeah, I mean, we see it a little bit, but more for religious purposes, and like the quality of the puppetry is not so good. The focus is not the puppetry; it's the ritual.
Yeah. Sometimes I watch from the backstage. They're just holding the puppet like this. They're not even moving it. For but that is for religious purposes, right?
Yeah, I remember talking to a Chinese opera artist in Singapore, and he does puppetry, but he said the reason why he went to puppetry is because he was too old to do opera. So the puppetry is easy; you just can sing and hold, and then done. Where the opera is so much more effort. So now it's almost seen like a retirement, an opera artist retirement. Can I just double check? It's Sunyong, right? Suyong? Suyong and Emmanuel.
Yeah.
Correct?
Hello, can you listen?
Yes, can hear you now.
Yeah.
Thank you for the meeting, but I wanted to check their name.
Okay.
Yay! All right, we should be going live shortly, so just relax.
Yeah, relaxing. Interesting.
Emmanuel, can I check, how long have you been in Korea?
Now 7 years.
Almost same as me in Singapore.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Hi, can I ask something to Emmanuel? Do you 혹시 통역 필요하신가요? 아니면은 그냥 중간에 필요하실 때 저희한테 페이스북으로 메시지 주시면 통역을 도와드릴까요? 왜냐하면 그 전에는 어떻게 했냐면 연결을 해가지고 계속 실시간으로 영어에서 한국어로 통역을 도와드렸거든요. 근데 지금 보니까 정말 너무 잘 알아들으시는 것 같으셔서 그래서 굳이 양쪽으로 들을 바에는 그냥 필요하실 때만 저희한테 연락을 해주시면 도와드리는 걸로 하는 게 어떨까 생각하는데 어떻게 생각하세요?
Yes, sure.
저희의 영어가 아주 유창하지 않아서 듣거나 말할 때 되게 한 50%, 60% 정도?
Yeah. No, normally, my first language is French because I study French. I come to Korea and I start to learn in English. In my countries, I never speak English.
So you only learn English in Korea?
In Korea, because normally I just speak French.
오케이, 그러면
저희가 잘 이해하고 있는지 잘 모를 때 연락 드릴게요.
네, 좋아요. 그럼 페이스북으로 언제든지 문자 주세요. 항상 저희는 대기하고 있을 테니까 저희는 스크린에 얼굴이 안 보일 거라서 하지만 여기 항상 있습니다.
I will try my best. It's
okay, yeah.
not easy for me to.
I mean, yeah, both of the languages are not yours, you know. Yeah, understand. Yeah, don't worry, we're always here. So just.
Okay, so between Korean, English, and English and Korean and French, we will be somewhere. Valerie, does anyone in your team speak French at all, or?
I actually studied 2 years of French in college, but I forgot most of it. And I also did spend a semester at IHADE in Seoul, but I also forgot most of the Koreans I picked up there. But
Mon Dieu.
So fun. Yeah.
Ce n'est pas grave, ça va aller.
So interesting. Yeah.
On espère qu'on va pouvoir se communiquer tranquillement.
Je peux parler petit peu.
Un peu seulement, oui. Ce n'est pas grave. Ce n'est pas grave.
So I'm not sure if you know, Emmanuel, but yes, Vietnam used to be a French colony.
Yes. We were colonies from French people.
Yes, you are also.
But I think Vietnamese are so bad at picking up languages. no one speaks French here.
Yeah.
We all were also colonized by the Chinese for a long time, but no one speaks Chinese.
Because for us, anyway, French people push us to study French, and they want us to get the French civilization for them, and we should study in French. Anyway, we think our culture we don't want to lose. When we keep our culture, anyway, we study French. We don't.
No. Actually, it was the same in Vietnam. So if you go to schools to get an education, you taught in French.
Yeah.
But like I said, for some reason, no one retained any of those.
As wonderful as this very cute conversation is, we are going live now. So yeah, let me do some introduction. Like, let's do the official stuff now, and then we can get back to our conversation.
No problem.
Wonderful. So, yep, wonderful. Okay, so for those who know me or may not know me, I'm Jody. I'm from Artsolute, which is a non-profit organization that's based in Singapore. And so we look at how to use arts and artists to solve different community issues. And we look at how different people from different cultures can come together to help solve problems also. So this is our very last dialogue session for the ASEAN Community Convention, so the ASEAN Korea Community Convention. It's been a really interesting couple of days of some talking to so many cool, interesting artists who use arts as a part of their, who use communities as a part of their practices. So this is the inaugural event of the Connect ASEAN program, which is sponsored by the ASEAN Korea Cooperation Fund. So a big thank you to the ASEAN AKCF and ASEAN Foundation, via ASEAN Foundation. So thank you to the ASEAN Foundation team for all their hard work and everything that they've done to get this off the ground. So this convention is a part of the larger Community Corner program, which is designed to sustain and develop sustainable and effective community art practices within ASEAN, and also with the involvement of artists from the Republic of Korea also. So Monday, we had a beautiful roundtable. On Tuesday, we had some great discussions about sustainability and environmentalism. And yesterday was all about youth. And today is all about identities and communities. And but there has been quite a lot of crossover if you've been paying attention. Really, even amongst these three themes, there's always so much involvement and so much crossover from these different parts of the way we think about society. So for the last dialogue today, we're going to be looking at navigating identities, which is about how all of us, even in our different parts of society, even within one country or many countries or cultures, how do we express ourselves and how do we work together as a community? Wonderful. So today we have three groups. We have Renee Chua from Singapore, a lovely theatre practitioner and jack of all trades, chop-along artist. We have Tran from Vietnam, a performing arts collective, and we have Koulé from Korea, a wonderful dance company. And so let's get it all started. So I would love, so I'll invite the artists now to present about their works. Maybe we'll start on home ground. Renee, would you like to start? You're on mute. Sorry.
Is it okay if I share screen now?
Can. Let me just double check. Terence? We're going to go to share screen. Okay. Maybe you can start and then I'll let you know when they're ready.
Okay. I'm just going to share a little bit about my works and like what Jody introduced me as. I'm a Chapalang artist, which in Singapore terms is a bit of everything.
Feel free to share your screen.
Yeah, so I feel a little bit hesitant in showing everything that I've done, but I think it will help in the dialogue, giving some context to why I think the way that I do. It's definitely not to hard sell my services, but more like the, despite the many different art form, what sort of binds them together in my practice.
Beautiful.
So this is me, and so there are different art forms, as I mentioned, that I have done. Playback theatre is one that's very close to my heart. In fact, closest to my heart. I have been practicing playback theatre since 2005. With Tapestry Playback Theatre, I've played the roles of an actor, a conductor, facilitator, trainer. We work with clients also to potentially use arts as a form of intervention for their work. So, for example, just one example, for the Alzheimer's Disease Association, we did a performance for the caregivers and people living with Alzheimer's as a way to sort of share their stories, to normalize their experience as a caregiver to someone, to their loved ones who have Alzheimer's. And 2 years ago, I've started this group made up of all female, or those who identify as the pronoun her. So I started this group mainly to serve the women, or those who identify as her. And we did a couple of, it's a young group, so we spent a lot of time training and finding out what does it entail to be a female or a woman in our society. And then slowly we open up to audience who are female or her, who identify as her, and we found stories that emerge from that identity. And yeah, that is playback theatre. So basically, for playback theatre is a form of theatre where the audience share stories, and the actors will improvise and reenact the stories on the spot, which serve as sort of a mirror for their stories. And when they look at their stories, there can be a wide variety of effects, like it could be clarifying, it could be cathartic. And those who connect to the stories, they could experience some kind of healing. And then from one story, it will sort of spontaneously uh, uh, surface another story, because like how we do in a very social settings, we sit around the table talking about our story, and then someone else will relate to that story and share. So basically, playback theatre is about that. And we also have our methodology in place to make sure that it's a safe space for stories to emerge.
And for those who don't know, Renee, how long has playback theatre been around for?
Playback theatre has been around since the 1970s. It started off in New York by this couple called Jonathan Fox and Joe Sellers, and they are still practicing now. And now playback theatre has been around the world, 60 over countries. People around the world have been using playback as a form of intervention or healing in their respective countries. Yeah. So that's playback theatre. And then I also do theatre of the oppressed, mainly using forum theatre as a form of intervention. And we can also talk a lot more about, how it is used for various social issues. So I have written and directed plays, the anti-model for issues among the youths, like cyberbullying, like racism, or mental health issues. And as an applied theatre practitioner, I have also done deep drama in education with various schools, and also for the underprivileged youths as an exposure to various art form. and also direct and perform in theatre and education pieces. And a lot of them uses puppetry, actually, interestingly. Yeah. And then I just want to talk a little bit more about community projects, using art as a form of intervention again. For example, there's one project that I'm currently running, and Jody used to be part of it, Kasia Kaki. We are using art space program for the seniors to, especially seniors who are isolated, and using art as a form of self-expression tools for them. Currently, it is still running. And as a director, I have written and devised pieces with my students. This is a piece on poverty in Singapore. People will be surprised, poverty in Singapore. Actually, we don't have poverty line. We don't have a defined poverty line in Singapore, but the income inequality is one of the highest in the world. And because of this project, the youths, my students, who are mostly from the middle class, they were exposed to a part of Singapore that they have never seen before, the rental flats. They have never seen the dark corridors in the rental flats. They have not met people living in rental flats. So it was a very good process for both the students and me. And I've directed other works with other institutions as well. And yeah, puppetry. So that's me. A lot of things that I have done. But mostly, I think what the works spoke out to me the most is that it is socially engaged, and there is maybe a reflection of what's going on in the society, or it serves as I'm particularly drawn to works that are using arts as a form of critique or reflection of what is happening right now in our society. Yeah, so that's me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Renee.
Thank you.
We'll have time for some questions after this. All right, next, I'd like to introduce the lovely ladies from Matron. Would you like to introduce yourselves next?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay. We're going to share a screen as well.
Yes.
So let us know when you're ready.
Yep, no, that's perfect.
So yeah, we have three people from Machen here. This is Ching. She's our production assistant as well as puppeteer. And right next to me is Thao-Linh. Yeah, she's our producer. And we also have a surprise member. Hi. This is Dreamer, one of our favorite puppets from our most recent show. And I'm Valerie. I'm a theater and puppetry artist. I found Machen Ensemble in 2018. Are we good with the share screen?
Yep. We can see your screen already.
Okay, great. So this is our website. So I studied experimental theater and puppetry in the US, but besides my own practice, I also have a lot of interest in communities and building communities and social issues. So when I returned to Vietnam, I decided to found Machen Ensemble, which is a performing arts collective with a focus on creating inclusive performing arts experiences for everyone. So the literal meaning of Machen is actually naked eyes, meaning that we create experiences and performances that can be enjoyed by everyone. You don't need any special glasses. You don't need anything to enjoy or experience our works. So there are three kinds of main things that we do. One, first thing is community-based projects. projects that that we create work very closely with communities, different communities. So, for example, last year we did a national tour. So we toured across Vietnam, visiting 6 different locations, 6 different communities, 4 of which is communities of ethnic minorities. And we performed puppetry as well as facilitate workshops, and we also create artworks with the communities, which would then be presented in an exhibition. So we basically resided with the communities for some times, and then with the communities being the co-authors, creating works and stories that are relevant to their lives and what they care about.
Sorry, just quickly. And the audiences for the exhibitions are the communities, or you take the exhibitions elsewhere?
Both. So the exhibitions took place in Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. And then lots of these artworks are then returned to the community, or the communities themselves decided to do something with the artworks after, because they're the owners of the artworks themselves, so they get to decide what to do with them after. And then the second thing that we do is create original performances, but also keeping in mind that we want to create performances that are inclusive and that can be enjoyed by a lot of different people. So I think I'll go to our most recent production, where you can see Dreamer, the puppets just now.
Nice.
So yeah, for original performances and a lot of the things that we do, we use movement, puppetry, and breath as our main story language, storytelling language. So these performances usually take place in non-conventional performing venues, meaning that we don't usually perform in theater spaces or a stage per se, but in makeshift stage theaters, and we like to be flexible with those. So for this year, we decided that all of our performances will have we'll try to make it as accessible as possible. So we try to make sure that we have assigned language interpreter present at all performances, that at least one of the venues that we performed in are accessible, that have facilities for people with disabilities. So yeah, and then the last thing that we do is workshops. So we facilitate workshops with different communities, women, people with different abilities, people of ethnic minorities, mostly just to be a companion, to be there in the storytelling process, to help facilitate that space where everyone can voice their opinions, stories, whatever it is that they want to tell. And then we also do puppetry workshops, of course. Yeah. Yeah, so and I think that's about it. That's you can visit us on our website, and then yeah, I think so. The kind of puppetry that we do is also quite diverse, depending on the requirement of the projects. But a lot of the puppetries are inspired by Buroku style puppetry, the traditional form of puppetry in Japan, but we do a mix of a lot of different things. So yes, upcoming we also have we're preparing for a new show, which will debut in November.
So, is it going to be a physical show or?
Yes, it will be physical shows. I think the situation here in Vietnam is relatively better than other places.
Than elsewhere, I guess.
I don't know if I will make anyone comfortable by sitting this close, but we're doing. I mean, it's not perfect, but at the moment, shows are still going on. We don't know about the future, but right now we're still scheduled for November opening.
That's really exciting to hear. It does make me very happy to hear that there's still theater happening somewhere.
Yeah. But I mean, there's no guarantee. Like we have no idea what the future looks like. But at the moment, we're hopeful. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful! Thank you so much. Look forward to. Wonderful. All right. So next, I'd like to introduce our friends from Koulé from Korea. Would you guys like to introduce first, or do you want me to show your video first, or?
Yeah. Video first, please.
Video first. Okay, one moment. One moment. Uno momento. I don't know how to, if I could say it in French, I would, but can you say one moment in French?
Huh?
How do you say one moment in French?
Attends un peu, s'il vous plaît. We have many words to say. We have many.
Many words. Wait, one moment. I want to make sure that I click all the right things. Okay, here we go.
C'est pour cela que j'ai donné ces noms des rêves. Des rêves, ça veut dire pourquoi on cherche quoi dans les paniers. Il n'y a rien à chercher. On est toujours, c'est la même chose. S'il n'y a pas blanc, on ne voit pas le noir. Et s'il n'y a pas noir, on ne voit pas les jaunes aussi. Pour moi, toutes les couleurs, c'est la même chose. On est seulement les êtres humains. Donc, seulement, on doit vivre ensemble. J'ai eu cette expérience ici, donc je vais parler de ça dans le monde entier pour que tout le monde sache qu'on est tous la même chose.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi, my name is Emmanuel Mikael Sanu. I am from Burkina Faso, and I am living in Korea now. It's 27 years. 20.
Hello, my name is Soyoung Son. I'm working with Emma as a producer in Koulé. Nice to meet you, everybody.
Nice to meet you. Yeah. Anyway, for me, I start to work. Yeah, from my country, I will start from introduce from how I started, because I focus about social issue. I really more strong focus, because why I focus, because in our society is not easy. We have freedom to talking. We have very freedom to talk in outside. In family, it's very difficult to sharing like if you are young, to express yourself, to say what you're thinking, and you cannot say anything. You just have to listen, and you should to follow it. And this one for me, it was very opposite because I am very revolutionary guy from young time. I already have lot of questions for parents, and if it's my many uncle and auntie, I have lot of questions. That making, I feel in family we cannot talking, and we decide for people to create kulekan. And kulekan mean like people don't everywhere you going, you should to keep your dignity, and you should to keep your identity. You should to keep your personality. This is the very important thing. Kulekan mean is like that. We should to keep. And we create kulekan because we want to meet more young people. We feel what we get in our life in education, we think it's not normal, and we wanna making the young people to be free to express themselves, to be free to say what they thinking and what they feel, and we making this kulekan. And we grow up the kulekan there, and after, and I will move to Korea, and after that, I come to Korea. And I get audition, and I come to Korea, and I work. First time it was so much difficult for me because first, before I couldn't know I am different person. I think I am just human being like everyone. And I go into many countries before I come to Korea. I couldn't get that kind of discrimination. And Korea, I get, wow, I am different. I am I feel too big different. They show me very strong different. I feel so surprised. And I start to fight. Why I have to be different? What people have to treat me different from Korea people? And this kind of thing, I start to fight from in there. Inside, it was so difficult. And in one hand, I see, anyway, Korea have many good people too. Have really many good friends and outside, who I meet outside. And after I fight in museum and I wanna go out, I wanna get my freedom because I feel I am in prison. I not free. And I fight in there and I go out, I get my freedom, and I meet other beautiful people who is very open mind, who wanna embrace other culture, who wanna embrace other people. And I meet that kind of people, and I start to work. I start to making kulekan in Korea again. And the kulekan again is the same. I thinking we have to keep our identity. It's not you just, we have to make in kulekan. If you come in kulekan, you should be African, then say, oh, I don't know. Just for me, I just want to bring people to found themselves what is the meaning and who is me. This one, and I start to making kulekan in Korea, and I bring this video we see now is about my history, how they treat me, how they manipulate me, my mind and my, anyway, my everything. They really manipulate me. I have to follow, I have to listen, and that is it was not me. I have to follow it, I have to listen. And that one, I feel this story, when the discrimination going to finish, it's not going to finish because I feel from this 21st century, we keep going to discriminate each other. I feel surprised. And that, I think I have to share this history in the world, and I'm making that piece, and that piece named Degebe, and it's my language, and Degebe means what you checking. Because if we put many grain here, rice have many color we can mix in. It means all inside for me is the rice. It's not gonna change in the name. Just I say why what you check in there. There no have nothing to check. We are all just one, and we are all just same. And I give that name, and I create this piece, and I perform many plays anyway, inside the theater, outside the theater, and I working in my community. We try to found ourselves and we try to anyway do many things. Anyway, maybe I will try to stop in here. Maybe after we can more talking more. Yeah.
Beautiful. So-young, would you like to introduce yourself also?
Yeah.
What is your role in Koulé?
Before I met Emmanuel, I was in the music community, Brazilian samba carnival community. It's called Escola Alegria. And in there, we try to make something like you are a musician or non-musician, or everybody can enjoy their life without music and communicate more freely. And there I met him and
So-young, sorry, can you speak a little louder? I think some people are struggling to hear a little bit.
Yeah,
sorry.
okay.
Thank you.
So I was inside this Brazilian music community and I met Emma and I realized his situation in Korea. And so with our team, we fight together for this discrimination and racism issue in Puchon African Museum. And yeah, anyway, before that, I was not really aware of the art and culture in Africa. And also, I had an ignorance about Africa continent too. And I met him and we start work together in Korea to as a more sharing our thinking.
Sharing.
And Koulé means like the shout of the roots. So for him, like he following his art and he immigrates many countries and now finally arrive at Korea. And now he making his roots more going down. And with this activity also I'm thinking about my roots. It's not we are working is for the just African like Burkina Faso culture. This one reflects me like, oh, what is my roots, what I should keep, how we can develop with new culture and new community in 21st century with many kind of identity. This is our now focus.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
We meet really many kind of people. Disability, who have disability, who don't have disability. We meet really lots of kind of people. Yeah.
Wonderful. So I thought what I'd do now is open the floor to you if any of you have questions for the other artists, something you want to know a little bit more about or something you're not so clear on. This is time for you to check in. Yes? So-young.
Anyway, it's so much good to see you guys, everybody. And I saw Renee. I have a question for Renee. And I see in theater forum, the face-to-face with the terror. Yeah, this project, like what kind of like discrimination or racism issue in Singapore? This project was about what kind of issue? Can you tell us?
Share more,
can
please.
You share story together? Thank you.
Sorry. So this piece was commission work, and it is about me and my co-writer Gus Ghazali. We came together to work on this piece. It's commissioned by the People's Association, and they wanted to address the issues of how do we respond to a terrorist situation, because at that point there were the threats of terrorism was very high in Singapore at that point in time, and then we came together, we talked about it, and then we realized that the root of the issue, the way we respond to a terrorist threats, the base of it is racism, because the way the media has portrayed terrorism is always associated to one religion, and that the media or what the narratives that we have been fed is always one particular religion is responsible for all the acts of terrorism, which then we wanted to dispel the truth. We want to address the truths. We want to dispel the myths, and perhaps look at the narratives harder. That if there is an act of terrorism, will our society fall apart? Will we go after a particular race or people of a particular religion? And then we realize, hey, we didn't really. I mean, then we go deeper, and it's in Singapore we don't have a strong and mature mechanism to talk about race, to talk about racism issues. We always sweep it under the carpet. We censor ourselves. We don't talk about it. So when anything that has got to do with race comes up, immediately everybody gets antagonistic. They start to point out the different stereotypes and prejudices associated with different races. So we talk about that, and we decided, okay, we're going to put this piece. We're going to write a piece about the fact that so in Singapore, the government housing is designed in a way that there is a quota. So a quota like this race must occupy certain percentage of this house, and then this particular race another percentage. So we are sort of put together artificially. Mm-hmm. And people don't talk. We just close our door. In the past, when it's more organic, so we call that the kampong, or the villages in the past, it's very organic. Different races talk to each other. We learn each other's languages. But now it is very artificial. And we don't address the stereotypes. We close our doors. So if anything happens, if there is any violence that happens, very quickly people will just point fingers. So we wanted to talk about the fact that we don't open our doors to people of different races.
I think maybe to give some context also for those who haven't been to Singapore, the majority of Singaporeans live in apartment buildings, so very close together, all on the same floors. So even though everyone lives very, very closely together, the issue of the closed doors is because we don't talk even though very close.
Yeah, so I'm not very sure if you're familiar with forum theatre, which is one of the tools in theatre of the oppressed. So in forum theatre, we present a skit, and this is a scene where, or a story where the characters makes choices that will lead to a disaster in the end. And then the audience will have to come on stage, replace the characters, and make different choices. Then we see if there is a different outcome. So sometimes we call it rehearsal for life. So it's a rehearsal for things that, social issues that come up, and we rehearse on stage so that when we really are faced with that situation, we know how to respond, hopefully. Yeah. Thank you for the question. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions for each other?
Hi, I just want to add on to what Renee was saying about how narratives are often manipulated or written by the media, and there's like one stories that are more prominent that everyone knows about more than other stories. And I think that's why we try to have a process where people of different backgrounds and communities can come forward as storytellers, because we don't have enough artists or storytellers from who are people of different ethnicities or abilities. Yeah, and I think that's a problem everywhere, but also like in Vietnam, I think not a lot of people realize that that we are actually a very diverse countries, that we have a lot of different ethnicities and cultures, that we are more than just an outside, which belong to only one ethnic group. Most majority, majority group here in Vietnam, but there are so many other languages, so many other cultures, but because we don't have artists or storytellers, enough storytellers from those communities, and that's a problem.
We have a question from Alfia and Saat joining us from Singapore on the Facebook Live. Yes, you probably know. He was wondering about whether using puppetry can help deal with certain issues better than, say, normal drama. I'm sure you remember Paper Moon's work on the confrontasi issues, and what kind of experience you've had on using puppetry to deal with those kinds of issues that suits puppetry better than normal just theater, if you will.
Renee, you want to go first? Is that for us specifically?
It was for you, but I mean, if Renee also feel free to feel free, and also like I would be curious also about Koulé Khan in terms of like how dance is different to normal theater in terms of dealing with issues that you wouldn't normally address in a more traditional in what the Western kind of theater traditional would see. Yeah, maybe Valerie, you can start.
I think it's a very interesting question because I think sometimes people would assume that maybe it works better, but I think like all art forms has its own characteristics and its own history and context, and you have to consider how to utilize it, how to place it. It doesn't matter what it is that you use, but you have to consider the community that you're introducing it to.
So communities will respond in different ways.
Yeah. So for example, there was this one instance where I worked with a group of Hmong people in Vietnam. For the workshop, I also used this paper puppets that I always use in most of my workshops. But and it's just it's a very simple form. You just form a simple puppet from paper, from craft paper. So it has a head and two arms and two legs. But that specific image can be very scary for people from Hmong communities. So the youngster come up to me and was like, because it looks like something religious, and it looks like a person with no face, and it can be used, as a
something for cursing, to curse people.
Not to curse people, but it's spell bad. But it can be associated with something quite religious and spiritual. So it can so it's not. So you think that it'd be accessible. You think that simple image can be accessible, but if bringing in without like proper research or considerations, it can provoke feelings that because you're not from that community, you don't know. So so we decided to make it so we add eyes, we hair, give it hair and dress, and make it becomes like more like a doll, and then it take and then take some edge off of that feeling or that association. But with that said, after the experience, I would say that there's, and we're so lucky because at that time I actually worked with a group of Hmong youths first before going in directly to the community. So that group informs me that this image can be seen as scary or can provoke like uncomfortable feelings, and then we adjust, and then we go into communities. But like I said, any forms, there's no like art forms that are more superior, that is like
the best, the most
that
perfect
works, like
art form.
works perfectly everywhere and with anyone. So
I've also had similar experiences even in Singapore with teenage like polytechnic students who have also been quite afraid of some of the puppets that I've brought in as well. So there's that double-edged sword of puppetry sometimes. Any thoughts from you, Renee?
I just want to add on a little bit how puppetry sometimes so there are groups in I think I forgot the countries, but they use puppetry in playback theatre. So there are several methods to that. So one is there's a bit of distance, especially for stories that has got to do with violence. So when it's that sometimes they use objects or cloth or puppets to help enact stories that has violence in it. So there's a bit of a distance for the teller. So that's one way of using it. And also, I think in some of the theatre in education pieces that I've done, puppetry is a way to sort of represent certain things that are maybe too strong for or too violent or too vivid for the audience, and we do it in a childlike manner or in a symbolic metaphors. Sometimes it's easier to present stories that are harder to digest. Yeah. Just to add on.
And then for you, Koulé, what benefits do you see dance providing in terms of being able to share issues that are a little harder to talk about?
About dance issue? Jody, can you
say again? No problem. I am wondering, so you use dance to share the issues of race in the society. Why is dance a good medium for you to share these issues? Why not a play where you have people sitting and talking?
Because for me, dance is a dialogue about our body. What we cannot say in words, we can say in our body. And for me, in our body can respond. I think everybody already know. Body is already can showing what like good, happiness, sadness, our like feeling, what I feel, my fear in now, directly in my body. For me, is more easy and more simple to bring to you to feel me, to know what I mean and what I want to say to you in now. And this one is not, that will anyway help me in Korea. I feel in body language, I communicate in Korean people, I don't speak anyway Korean language, but from in our body, we really go more deeply and deeply. In example, if who come to this our community here, all I have the témoignage, they all say, wow, this dance become something in my life now. I don't know why I following, but I feel something and I get some power and what I don't have before. And I can see my life different now than before. And for me, dance is really the approach very natural to people. It's not because something we really cannot say in words for me.
It's very useful in terms of, especially dealing with things like internal prejudices, where if you add language to it, you can often it can be very easily construed as judgmental. But if you take the language away and move it into the body, it allows you to be maybe a bit kinder to yourself in order to process the message.
And I think in dance genre, it's important to see, and also it's important to really dance out with our body, because I think there is a knowledge we can get only by body. So even if we think this is right, but sometimes our body is not following. But when our body, it's like when I get some workshop from him, something I learn with my body, I thought I already understand, but my body didn't follow my thinking, but I changed my body, and something really changed physically.
That connection between mind and body. Exactly.
And
it's very clear that, I mean, all of you in your different works, I can clearly see that using arts and creativity is very useful in order to have for expression, and that creative expression is really important. But I guess I'm thinking about more specifically, how do you see it impacts the communities in which you work with? And maybe are there some example of how you've seen the communities you've worked with benefit from using the arts? Am I clear?
I can start.
Okay. Thank you, Renee.
So I sort of I think besides the fact that the main thread that ties my very tapalang practice is stories from people. So stories is a very big thing for me. We are shaped by the stories that we tell ourselves, and the act of telling your personal stories, it's forming your narratives about yourself. And then as other people relate to your stories and they respond by sharing their stories, and then you relate to their stories, then the sense of identity emerge as the stories emerge. So it takes one person to share a story and then another person to relate. And gradually you have the narratives of that community emerging. And that itself it can be healing, it can be cathartic, it can be clarifying. So in a show that I have done with her Playback Theatre, we extended our invitation to only audience that identify with the pronoun her or female. And then in that show, we have many stories about being what it takes to be a woman. We have stories that are from struggling to use the menstrual cup, to breast cancer, to being a mother, to being a daughter, to being to stories that is related to the Me Too movement. And women learn so much from each other's stories. They lean on each other's stories, and they seek comfort and wisdom. The stories were not planted; they happen organically because they want to talk to each other. The audience wants to talk to each other. So the feedback that we got from the audience at the end was the young ones learn from the struggles of the older women, and the older women, they sort of experience joy in listening to what the younger ones are struggling with, and they maybe reminisce, or they are rejuvenated by the youthful stories. And then after that, they stay on and talk to each other for many more hours. So it is not a huge change, but for that moment and maybe many moments later on, they feel that, hey, there is a community made up of women and they all share similar stories with me, and that I don't have to struggle alone. And then subsequently, there were people coming to me to say that, hey, we should have more shows like that where women can talk to each other about women's issues, uh, which we are working on. Yeah.
Oh, exciting. Yeah. And I guess it really helps to break down that barrier and that shyness of learning how to connect also, or learning how to reconnect.
Yeah.
And trusting that the other person or the other woman can receive you.
And these stories would not have appeared in a room full of, audience of different genders. Yeah. So that moment was very precious for all of us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Renee. Koulé, Tran, any thoughts? Working out the unmute button. Very important.
It's okay. Yeah.
Yes, can hear you.
Anyway, for me, I work in many kind of people, many kind of diversity. Anyway, now I am work in some disability center, Nodelia, and now I teach in the, now we try to make in peace because we fight. We want to make to this society to know it's not just we are different, and that one somebody have to be out, somebody have to be in, and that people how they can live in if they can work. And this one we fight and we get the found. Now we make them because we wanted to them to make them to how they can work and how they can get salary and how they can live in. And first time they think, and who have disability, it's difficult to work. They cannot work. And I say everybody have some ability. What ability I have, I can bring to stage. And I believe I work in them 3 years. I believe they have some ability. They have them voice, and they can say something. And now we start to work. And for me, this so much interesting how they react, because for me I feel if it's me I feel I not honestly, maybe they very honestly people, they react what they feel, good bad, always they react very directly, and the reaction about body is really no lie, and all these people have their own movement really and very strong. And if we just one people stay, you just cannot move your face because it's really very powerful. And always if I go in there, I feel I learn something new every day from them. And I bring them to just know, anyway, everybody have them character. How in all this character, how we can be one here. And how in your own culture and my culture, what is the good have to meet, what in between two people, what is the bad have to move. From that, we bring them to how to make them to understand each other and how we can communicate just in body, no language. And all teachers say, you is not Korean, how you make them to dance and to react like that one. If we are same Korean, we cannot communicate like that. And I said, body is always good communication way to communicate in body. And it's always a good way to sharing the feeling and to embrace each other. Very easy way.
Yeah,
I can make more detail.
Maybe
of course,
my
please.
English is a problem.
No problem.
The Noodle School, Noodle Disabled Night School. That organization is like progressive disability movement activism center, And how I can say, and in his Emmanuel background, in this Mandingo or Burkina Faso culture, in traditionally the dance have a like circle way they dance, and like people are around the circle, and one by one they do solo in the middle of center. And he say he is rich or poor, old and young, have a disability or not, everybody can dance. That means everybody have your voice, and all the community people gonna listening to your voice. So this one continue to in Korea, I think. About at the first, our work is based on ethnicity or race, but this one also developed to disability issue, because in Korea too, who have disability is a little bit segregated in who don't have disability. And also it's difficult to see and work or meet who have a especially developmental disabled.
Yeah, I
And
think this
we
is definitely a global problem.
yeah, sadly. Anyway, in this center, like the how can I say who make this workshop? She had a question. Anyway, he is a foreigner in Korea, so who come in this class? They are all Korean people. They don't speak English, so how they gonna communicate? But it was so continue to like have a good time, because without language or some anyway this bodily communication we can see, and everybody can feel like what is true, what is presence, so what art want to pursue. Like art is not just technique. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure, Tran, you've also had similar experiences in Vietnam, because the minorities would not necessarily be speaking Vietnamese also. Am I correct?
Yeah. We also have like for the questions first. Actually, we in our practice we also work with stories. So what we are trying to do all the time is not about like we don't use impact as a like valuation or as a goal for us to work, but we're trying to create the space, which is we are trying to make it as safe as possible for people to voice, and also we're trying to keep our ethics in our work to like to maintain the voice of the people, to keep like to maximize the voice of the community, not our voice. So this is what we trying to do. But actually about the impact, I think is in a very personal level, that the impact to us as the practitioners work with the communities, we can see the impact in ourselves by working with the different communities. But like with the different communities that we are working, we have been working with, there was some people who go directly to us and say thank you to us, and like there's some groups of people, different communities, they keep wanting to work with us after that work, like maybe like the next years or the next project, they still want to work with us with the with our method of working. So I think that's the impact in personal level, I think.
But I think the biggest reason that people want to go back working with us, I think the reason might not be that we're like so terrific, but it's just that we built that trust, and a lot of times I think with
with communities, with these communities, or people who are more, I don't want to use the word vulnerables, but whose voice is not often heard. I think it's just about listening. So once you've established that trust, naturally people would want to work with you. It's not. I think it's not so much that we're like we have anything special, but it's just that that we listened. And yeah, I think what Ling said about like as far as impact goes, the only impact that we can measure or want to measure is within ourselves. And like Emmanuel said, working with people, we learn so much from people who are different than us, who come in with different stories, with stories that we haven't heard before. That's and we learn from that, and that impacts us, and that's the only thing we measure.
No, that's great. Yeah, I guess also, I mean, we sort of talk about how using art as a form of, you know, communal expression, and that art's really good for connecting and creation also. But I mean, we also know that communities are very different also, and obviously require also require their own approaches. So maybe I would love to hear some examples of how any idea of what are some of the things that you feel are very universal when it comes to working with communities or you know, underrepresented communities, and what is the same, and what is the things that you often have to change? Sorry, is this big question?
Between what is different between community people in community?
So when we work with community or different community, we have to have a different approach.
Yes.
Yes. So what are some of the things that we have to do different, and what are some of the things that we can do the same, no matter what community we work with?
Yes, for me too, I work in many community, and I have to already our community. And anyway, for me, in my culture, is different. People is more free to communicate and to express themselves easily. In here, people is feel a little bit difficult to communicate, because I think, because similar thing I say in my culture, in family, we cannot discuss freely, and I feel in culturally here too, who is the like opposite, I don't know exactly, who is the like up, who is the teacher, who is the, like have to control people, have to all listening that people and follow the idea. And for me, I am the revolutionary about just bring your guys and no have to have any, like you just have to listen. That kind of thing I don't have. I already hate. And I start to work in this community, and how people come in. Somebody say, "Oh, my body, I really like to dance. I want to dance. My body is not for dancing, because society already making this body is not dance body." And in their mind, this I cannot dance anymore in my life. Some people say, "Oh, I am old. I'm not that young. I want to dance. But how I can go into dance community? I am not that young." And that kind of all mixing, we have young, old, because for me, dance is really like embrace age, young, old, anybody you can join in here. And people come in and we start to sharing, and I said, in here, we not have that teacher who is like leading everybody. everybody is free in here to sharing what you feel, what you like, what you don't like. And for me, to making healthy community, we have to discuss. If we don't have the possibility, the freedom to discuss, we cannot make a healthy community. And that one in everywhere, in every community, if it's the young or older, I always say to them, I not coming in here like teacher, I come in to be friend. I want to sharing what we feel, good or bad. We have to be honest to ourselves and sharing. And anyway, in every community, I can feel it was first time so difficult to people to express. They cannot talk in any way. They just think, oh, I come in, I have to learn, I have to hear what you want. And now, what I can feel very big change, because who was timid, who was thinking my body is not for dance, who was thinking my body, I am old. Everybody feel this dance become one in my life, and they feel, wow, I get more power and more positive in my mind and my feel. Many places, if it's in young community, similar. You can help me, my English.
No, it's, if I may, it's like, in order to have a community, you need to make sure that people are able to contribute to each other. Yes.
To have more peace.
Anyway, how I understand of his dance philosophy, or like dance philosophy in Burkina Faso is not only like artistic way or traditional or this cultural way. Anyway, when he moved to Korea, the Korean situation or reality was very different from where he come from. And anyway, there they also have a hierarchy of age or authority. But in the art, people are very free to express, or everybody is allowed. And how can I say? Yeah, everybody doing art in the dance and music in traditional way. But in Korea, we had a little bit, how can I say?
Yeah, like art is here,
like they have we had a cut.
Exclusive.
Yeah, because of the colonial time, the traditional art did not continue to present this contemporary time. And also we have a very big hierarchy of age and authority. So, and also about the thinking about the Africa. So when he wanted to transfer about the dance philosophy in here community, we needed a translation. Like, because people see like his tradition or his creation, everything is like African dance. But this term we think is very controversial. And but anyway, yeah, when we do in workshop, our message, our really the basic message is every time we are doing keeping, like wherever you go, we are all travelers, wherever you go, don't forget your dignity and your roots, like this message.
Beautiful, thank you.
And I get people get anyway more freedom. Who really come here, they feel more easy to communicate, to sharing more, and feel more. Oh, I can say something now.
Beautiful, thank you. Renee, any thoughts?
Yeah. So when working with different communities, the similarity is always, I'm talking specifically about playback theatre, but I also apply similar principles with other theatre forms. So the first and foremost is the stories have to humanize the community. It has to address prejudices and remove stereotypes. And we also have to allow the community to tell their own stories. So the presence of their voice must be very strong in the work. Also, of course, ethical issues like the stories have to be respected. There must be adequate representation from the community when it comes to working with the community. And of course, like what Valerie said about establishing trust. That is the first and foremost step, to be there consistently for the community, and to establish certain methodology or rituals, like what we call in playback theatre, so that they know that there is a structure in place and it's safe for me to share. But when it comes to working with different communities, they have different sensibilities, they have different history, they have different values, there are different things that is taboo to them, and also language. So the different languages, like working with the seniors would require certain language abilities so that you can relate to them better.
Yes, just for context, also in Singapore, a lot of the seniors don't speak English and they will speak many different languages. So if you do a workshop in Singapore for seniors, you have to have many different languages available.
There's different dialects they speak in their mother tongue. And then working with youths or troubled youths, or people from low-income families. So they have different communities have different sensibilities. For example, what might work for the seniors, like maybe a simple thing, logistics, like planning for the workshop to be on a weekend for seniors might work, but it may not work for youths. So simple things like that, or even the way we carry ourselves, or the language, the choice of language that we use, and how we use it, it has different sensibilities. So that would, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. Tran?
Well, for your questions, can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you. Thank you.
Well, I have to say that we as an ensemble, as I myself, we work with a lot of different community, different ethnicity, and the first thing, and we deal with different stories. So I believe the first thing that we have to do is to truly listening to the story that people share, and don't push them to in anything that as Renee say, that we're building trust, and then the story will come naturally. And the second one is that be open-minded when something we offering, but the people are not react to or are not interested in, because some people might find art form very interesting, amazing, but some people are not find it interesting. So just be open-minded about that and be flexible. And however, we have to be the first person, as Valerie always say to me, is that we have to be the first person who find it interesting. And we always say to each other that be mindful about what we are doing, what happening growing inside, and try to make it better.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting perspective on how to enter a community, that you need to be a person first, not just the art. The art won't speak unless the person is present also.
Yeah. Well, I think what you said, like be a person first. I think that's not just in what we do, but in life in general. I'm a person first before I'm an artist or anything else. So I think that's a very important thing to keep in mind. That when you're in community, like Trinh said, be open-minded. A lot of the things, not a lot, but most of the things that you planned will be scratch. like nothing will ever go as planned, because people will have different responses to what you planned, and there's no way to predict, except like be present, like to actually be in the room with those people and listen and interact as human beings.
I think there's a large part of working with communities as an artist, like a large part is letting go, like grabbing onto things and then letting it go.
Can I just add on?
Please.
Two things. So one is to really do the research and be with the community for a good amount of time so that there is a good level of understanding. We may not completely be immersed in the community during our research, but at least what we design for the community is based on what we understand and what we empathize based on our research. So that's one thing. And the second thing I feel that is very important is to have representation or some form of representation, be it language, be it a particular race or a particular identity. There should be representation so that that's a very first step to building trust, I feel, when it comes to working with communities.
Yeah. Eunice, are you Eunice? Do you have a question? Yeah. Yes. Okay. Do you need some time for you to process your question? Eunice has been the Korean translator for a while, so she's working something out. Anyway, but I thought I also, again, we're kind of heading towards the last little bit of the conversation. So I really want, if you guys have any questions or if there's anything else that you are wanting to think about a little bit more, I open the floor to you also.
So over here, we had a very, very long discussion yesterday about one of the questions that Jody put out about like, is there any art form that is specific to cultural, specific culturally or geographically? And so we just want to hear what other people think about it, because we had quite a long conversation about it yesterday.
This is do you think all art forms are effective for communal expression? And are there examples of art forms that may be culturally or geographically specific?
Right. So we interpret that question as assuming that if it is specific, meaning that it cannot be taken out of context, right? Or you shouldn't take it out of context, that it should stay within the borders of that cultural or that region physically and culturally. So yeah, I'm curious about what other people, so especially with Koulé and Emmanuel, who's introducing your traditional, your dance from Africa to a different culture, a different context. Is there anything specific that you wouldn't take and introduce to Koreans, or?
What wouldn't you do?
You can exit. You want to know like how I introduce this culture in Korea, or how I approach people in this traditional culture?
I think the question is more, is there anything that you think you cannot bring from your culture to Korean culture that there are parts of culture that can only be in one place, that cross border.
Okay. And also how do you usually introduce dance? Like, do you how do you introduce it with context? Like, where does this dance come from? What does it mean? How, yeah.
anyway, for me, my base is anyway traditional dance is true. And because and for me, I feel like if I teach Korea people, if I have to just bring directly my culture to like you have to accept directly. It's so difficult for me. I feel, and my country is like we said before, people have freedom in art. If who is not artist too, we have this freedom in dance way we can express inside the circle. And from Korea, I feel it cannot work in here like how I doing in my countries. And I approach in different way, and I making some concept face to face. And for me, the face to face, how from you and me, what we can bring to it, what we can bring inside, and we two guys see each other, what we can exchange from very basically and very simple movement. We start face to face, and we develop something. And two, I teach in traditional movement sometimes, and for me, I learn to like contemporary way, little bit like dance contemporary too. Anyway, my base, I'm more focused to traditional culture because I feel it's more, I can bring more natural to them, to bring them energy and how to make them to express themselves and how to get on my own movement. This is me. Because some movement is really to human, natural coming every time. It's not I want to bring, but it's just coming. That kind of thing. From this subject, I bring always face to face, or I bring some concept, okay, from here, how you, and I have something like articulation movement too, and that articulation movement bring you to understand, to remind all your body. Where is my articulation? Where all in my body? Where I have to use it? Like I have to travel in all my body in that kind of concept make me and to bring people to understand modern body, and after they can more dance more freely. It's really very big helpful, and people so appreciate this this form, how I making and how I bring them to bring them own movement and them own culture.
It's almost as though you have to, I mean, culture and art is not just one fixed thing. You have to process it also,
Like
and
also.
it will manifest, it will take different form for different people.
Time, yes, because for each people it needs, like before for me, I feel my body already have my body culture, and you have your body culture, and how this is two body can meet and making something. From this body culture, always I'm more focused and to bring, to make you to bring your movement and to be, to not be other people and to be really yourself and going more deeply. That I work like this one in community. I'm more focused about personally ability and what power I can bring and what, yeah. Yes, I hope.
So he have Koulé have a different translation by Emma. Also, like when he transfer his traditional culture, but when we go to really deeply the value of tradition, it's all like we respect each other and respect myself. Something very, this kind of very basic value we start. So in Korea, he don't want to push or force to follow his tradition directly. So we are sharing or talking from our like body culture.
Yeah, my English is a big problem. I can.
It's just sometimes. Yeah, no, it's no problem. Yeah. We also need to, like art, you need to process in your own way. Language is also, you need to process in your own way. Any thoughts from you, Renee? I mean, in Singapore, where we do have so many cultures and different art forms that really do all exist, but at the moment they're generally quite separated.
It's a difficult question for Singaporeans because what are we culturally? we don't have a Singapore art form. We don't have a Singapore language. It emerged Singlish, and then people say no, this is bad English. So I think culturally we don't have something very significant. Like the moment you see it, that art form, and you know that hey, this is Singapore. I think we are just defined by. I think we are still finding our identity. We are still shaping our identity as Singaporeans.
We're having
I
to
could
navigate our own identity.
Yeah,
navigate the identity.
but I can address that question using playback theatre as an example. Representation is important in playback theatre, so we don't want to come in as the experts. Then we go to a particular community and we use our tools and colonize their community. We don't want to do that. We would maybe showcase this tool, and if the community finds that it is interesting, we can come in to share that tool, and then the community can use that to share their stories and work on their stories, be it to shape their identity or to for healing, community healing. I think what I am interested in would be as an artist, like what if I have my stories and I translate it to the dance, and I would be interested to see how this story can be translated into a dance or to a puppetry. You know, how does that story look like when expressed in different forms? Yeah.
Eunice, are you ready to share your question? Yes.
I want to ask
I can't hear you, Eunice.
I want to ask her who don't have this base culture base, like traditional base, how you approach to them and how you can make them to develop other way.
Can you rephrase your question?
Yeah.
Can you say again?
I want to know who don't have the culture base and how we can approach to them, how she approach to them and making them based from culture.
How do you approach community people who
don't have this basic culture, and how she can approach to them to make a new culture, how they can develop this thinking.
Is the
I'm
question
not sure I exactly understand or not. So maybe this question for Renee, because she said in Singapore is I don't know how I understand is like there's no many traditional culture or some specific art form of like tradition. So he asked, so in that situation, how you want to develop the culture?
The community, in community, what we can develop in community in this way.
Thank you for the question. So in Singapore we have different races, and each race have their own traditional art form. And in the past, these traditional art forms were performed. And I think what happened is there were a lot of intervention and modernization, globalization, and slowly traditional art forms are not that appealing, that interesting anymore. we are a very young country. We have because we are a country made up of immigrants, and we have a majority of us, we came from, our ancestors come from different parts of the world. So we haven't quite reached a point where we have a collective identity. But what we have sometimes when I work with the community is different communities have different sort of identity. Like the seniors have a particular identity. The youths have a certain identity. But collectively as Singaporeans, I think we are still shaping. We are still finding our way as a country. Yeah.
The roots have not quite gone deep enough yet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I see.
So when working with the community, it is to find out using various tools to find out what concerns them, what are their stories, and so it's like different small communities have their different stories. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And does that answer your question?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it's good. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Can we hold on for one moment? I think, yes, Eunice has a question that she's been dying to ask. So we'll give her the...
그 쿨레이칸 팀한테 물어보고 싶은 게 있는데요. 코로나 전과 후가 어떻게 바뀌었는지, 뭐 춤출 때 마스크를 끼고 해야 한다거나 아니면 어떤 식으로 작업을 현재 병행하고 계시는지 궁금해서 질문 드립니다.
So I have a question for the Koulé team. I was wondering how is it different, how things have changed after coronavirus pandemic. Let's say, do you have to wear a mask when you're performing?
Yes, that is a very good question. Anyway, from Corona, we was have many performance because of Corona, many performances canceled. Cancel now. And from the class, before I try to make in the dance class, like no many people. And if people come in, we check in, we check our fever,
temperature.
And we check everything, and we cleaning before in our studio. We clean, we do everything to make it sanitary, to make it clean, and we try to make in very small group. If it's a 2 times, like our community, we just make a small group and do the class, and other community to come into our studio to take class too. If that people coming, we make it divide 2 teams, maybe 5 people. Just if it was 10 people, we divide 5, and always we wear mask and we clean every time, and we was doing like that. And performance, we don't use the mask. Because for me, I feel that in performance, we try to not be close to the audience, and audience can wear the mask. The performer try to be far and to not be very close. Normally, this year perform, I normally going to audience. I doing something and audience together. And this time I cannot do this one. I just try to do this one and voice or something more far away or clapping. This time I do and more clapping. How we can do something together like that way? No voice, no something too much active. Now we do like this one. And now Corona become more up again. The number becomes so crazy up. And many class is now canceled too. We don't do, it's not going to be delayed. We're making delays. And we have some performance. We're going to do this one in online. They will come and take the video and making online feeling. That one we preparing now. Now it's that difficulty we have. Maybe you can more explain.
일단 많은 공연들이 온라인화 되어 가는 게 사실이고, and many performance changing to online, presenting at the online is really now reality. And at the first months of when Corona become getting more and more, we also had a confinement in the house. And we started actually like YouTube, like let's dance together in our home. But how can I say, like we realized really many things, like what was very normal to dance in the studio, and actually for him or for the dancer, they not only in the performance, even if in the workshop too, like he or dancer can see everybody like shining eyes. So it's so difficult. We just see the camera and we cannot see the shining eyes. It's not just only the body energy, like, oh, I want to see the eyes. But anyway, now become like we say new normal. And we are now adapting to use mask in the school or studio to dance. Everybody feel actually difficult and feel very hard, but we should keep the safety, and we are adapting, but we still trying like not to forget the sense of connection and communication way.
Anyway, the student in school, I doing online class one time, and after I meet them, and they say, wow, online and directly is so different. It was the first time to meet, and I doing all the semester in master, and last day I have to we have to take video to show to parents or the other teacher what we doing in this semester. And I said, please, we're not gonna dance all together, we're gonna divide people. Please, you can move the mask. I feel new people. If I meet them, I don't know anybody. Very new. I feel, wow, wow. Like this image. And for me, I want to meet people really face to face is my point.
Yeah, it's very important.
Yes.
But yeah, it's definitely been an interesting experience too. I mean, we would not be working in this fashion if it wasn't for the pandemic. And I remember Valerie in her email, when she responded to my email, she was very excited about this opportunity for more people to be able to come together, and also us being able to work together and give opportunities to people who wouldn't normally get to travel overseas. So it's presented really fun opportunities. So I mean, I look forward to. I mean, we are unfortunately running short of time, and I feel like we could discuss about so many things for such a long time. And as I said in the last session, I say again, you guys all have so much wisdom that I learn so much every time I hear from all of you. And I hope that we can continue the conversation and continue to learn more from each other, and that yes, this digital platform that is not perfect, but also provides us with some interesting opportunities. So I'd like to, got another 10 minutes left, so I'd like to invite any last thoughts about what we've discussed, or any thoughts about how you might like to take things forward. Really up to you. And maybe Valerie, would you like to start? Or Matt, Tran, all of you?
No, thank you, Jody and Artsolute for putting this together. Yeah, it's so nice talking to Renee as well as Koulé Khan's team. There's actually, we have so many questions, and as you guys are talking, we're over here, we're also having a discussion about what you guys are talking. So we're interested to stay connected to everyone. I mean, from my own personal opinion, and then what we discussed earlier about what Renee shared about Singapore, we were just
like I was just telling these guys over here that I think that it may not be such a bad thing not to have that one image associating with Singapore because a country is not a homogeneous body. It's a collective of identities. So at least for in my opinion, it's may not be such a good thing when when you say Vietnam and the first image that pops into your head is whatever it is. Like no one single image can contain that many stories, that many the entire history of our country, of our people. So it might not be such a bad thing not to have that collective.
And yeah, I think one of the things we need to remember also is that these lines and borders of what is Vietnam or Cambodia or what is Korea or what is Singapore have changed before, and last time it was more fluid, and sometimes we need to remind ourselves of this also. I also want to invite Chin or Ling, if you have any last things you want to say also, please.
Yeah. So, actually, I think Valerie already say for us. Yeah, for me. Yeah. So thank you for this very interesting discussion. I have the chance to know like the other stories, the other practice.
So much more stories to go. Chin?
Same for me. Thank you, thank you, everyone, and I hope that someday we can meet in person.
Yeah.
Please, hopefully one day. Renee?
Thank you, Valerie, for that for that very thoughtful sharing. To me, my personal opinion is I feel like Singapore doesn't have a strong identity, but maybe for someone else, Singapore has a very strong identity. I guess it's depending on which side of the coin we are looking at. Perhaps my take would be I feel like our identity was not, as in it is not emerged in a very organic way. We are still quite separated in a way. I just feel like we need to come together some more, putting all the ingredients together and fry a dish out, but we are not putting everything together. It is always very controlled and managed. I feel like we need to be able to have conflicts, but done in a mature way, in a way that you want to reach out to someone with a different identity and really want to know more. And I feel like we need to do more of that in Singapore. But definitely, I think not having one identity is also good. Like we are many things all together. I guess that's why my practice is also very mixed and chapalang.
You're also having to work out things.
Yeah, and I find that in the sharing, it was very precious to hear how our different practice, different art forms, all had the similarities in our practice. How we respect the body culture, or to establish the trust and let the community's stories emerge first, and giving a voice to the vulnerables. There are a lot of similarities that crosses between our practice, and I'm just interested to see how, if our stories is given to another person, how would you interpret those stories in your various art form, and then how do we have a dialogue with that, the different ways we interpret each other's stories. And of course, this conversation happened because Jody invited me and trust me to be able to share my practice coherently in this platform. So thank you very much. And thank you, Artsolute, for making this possible. I think what is precious about this pandemic is also there were a lot of opportunities across border for us to do sharing. And I'm learning a lot in all these sharings, our similarities, our differences. How do we learn from each other? I think that I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Yeah, I've been very surprised through all of these conversations that we've had over the past few days. You know, when you get 11 different countries to come together to discuss something as broad as the term community arts, there's been so much similarities. It's been almost difficult to try and get people to disagree on things because there's been so much agreement in the room or the Zoom room. Yeah. But any last words from Koulé? Emmanuel and
anyway,
So
for me, I am really sorry for my bad English because my English is not good. And
your English is very useful for those who, I mean, not everyone in ASEAN speaks very good English, and so your simple English is very valuable also. It is also a different ability, so don't stress too much.
Thank you. And for me, I am very happy to meet all these people today to sharing our idea together. And really, she said, I feel I learned a lot of things today too. Anyway, for me, every culture have a very strong similarity, and I feel music, dance, theater, popping, everything. Every art have a very big, strong connection, and I believe art is really good for community, and I believe is really making every human being to grow up to be a good human being, to accept other people, to try to have the space to understand, to waiting, to listen, to know that we share each other. And for me, today, I really learned many things. And I really thank you so much, George, and all the team to making this platform, to making this adventure. It's like for me, in French, it's
Adventure, yeah.
This adventure, and I can meet so beautiful people. I can, yeah, really. Thank you so much. Anyway, if it's not English, maybe I will talk crazy more and more. I will, because English is make my talking become limited. I am really sorry. Thank you so much, and thank you. And I hope we're gonna keep touching. We're gonna keep going to discuss and good, making very beautiful thing in future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much too. I thought like 2 hours.
Can I say one last thing?
Hello?
Yeah, I was thought, ooh, 2 hours, it can be long, but I feel it was very short. Oh, I want to know, I want to continue to talk more. So I hope it's not the first and last.
Yes.
I hope we can continue to talking. And thank you so much, everybody. The time finished, right?
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, I will. Okay, so I will say goodbye to all of the artists. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll say goodbye, and then I'll wrap up also. And yes. All right. Well, thank you, artists, so much for joining us, and I hope to see you again soon. Good.
Thank you.
I'll see you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. And don't apologize for your English.
Really, thank you so much. Yeah, keep in touch. Thank you.
All right. I would also like to invite all of the wonderful team who've been supporting us as well, so they can say a final goodbye as well.
Intro.
Right. Yes. Just while we cannot social distance, I must be responsible. And, so this is Mr. Terence Tan. He is the director, producer, big boss of Artsolute, who's been having many sleepless nights, also working on the technical. We have our two lovely translators who've been working very hard, Eunice and Eden. And then we have our very paise technical team who always hate to be on stage. Hafiz, who's also been learning lots of new things. Hatta, come say hello, please. Hatta has also been having many sleepless nights also, trying to figure out all of this stuff. Wonderful. Okay, thanks guys. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, and yes.
T-Works, and we've got to thank T-Works so much.
Yes, a big thank you to T-Works for allowing us to use their space, sponsoring us our space. And again, big thank you to the ASEAN Korea Cooperation Fund for sponsoring this, ASEAN Foundation for all the hard work that they've done to make this happen. They've been working on this for a good 3 years, so. And then, yeah. And also, big thank you to Global Artsolute, who was our co-creator for this as well. Awesome. We hope to we hope to see you all again really soon. This is just the first part of the community corner project. We look forward to seeing all of the artists back again in October to share with us all the wonderful things that they've learned over the past month. And yeah, do join us. Good. All right, beautiful. Thank you so much. And bye-bye. Oh my gosh. Bye, puppets. All right, bye. Thank you so much, guys. We'll be in touch, okay?
Keep touching.
All right. Thank you. There you go. Bye. Big kisses. There you go. Okay, bye. And yes, thank you again to everyone who made this happen. Really, really, really appreciate it. And we'll see you again in October.